We are building the foundations to enable access to regenerative health. There was a patient who received replacement spinal cord tissue and went from being paralyzed to walking, now is learning to walk. Regenerative health is here. It's not something that's coming, it's already here.
Onyx Live is proudly sponsored by Humphrey's Law and Panacea.
I'm Marinna Madrid. I'm a co-founder and chief product officer at Cellino, and we are a regenerative health company. We are building the foundations to enable access to regenerative health.
And how exactly are you addressing the problem of regenerative health?
Right, so your body is composed of about 37 trillion cells, and they do everything that your body needs. They're working very, very hard. But every day, as you're aging, your cells get just like a little bit older, a little bit less functional. And so what regenerative health is, it's really about maintaining human health by restoring and maintaining the cellular and tissue function via replacement cells and tissues. And we're already seeing really exciting clinical outcomes in certain areas. So Parkinson's, heart failure, diabetes, spinal cord injury. You know, this last year in 2025, there was a patient who received replacement spinal cord tissue and went from being paralyzed to walking, now is learning to walk.
Wow.
So pretty world-changing outcomes. The challenge right now is the science is amazing. We're seeing really promising clinical outcomes, but it's still at a relatively small scale. So small N studies. So what we're doing at Cellino is building the foundations to really scale that and enable access. So that involves building scalable manufacturing technology. That's what we've spent the last decade doing, is building a highly scalable manufacturing technology so everyone can actually get access to these therapies. It involves establishing the appropriate regulatory frameworks. You know, our regulatory system so far has largely been dedicated to small molecules and antibiotics. This is a quite new therapeutic modality, and so we've been engaging very deeply with regulators on how to scale manufacturing and access for these types of therapies, and it essentially just involves creating that infrastructure.
Speaking of regulators, I understand you already have FDA-AMT designation, and so what's your progress been like with the FDA?
It's been amazing. So we have found that our engagements with the FDA, they have been just brilliant and collaborative and very eager to engage. And so that's been really heartwarming to see. So we did earn the Advanced Manufacturing Technology designation earlier in 2025. And what that says is our technology is being recognized as a scalable technology that is important for getting iPSC-based therapies to all of the patients who need them. More recently, we've been engaging with regulators around AI. So we're at a really interesting time in history right now. AI is a very hot topic. But what's so cool about this time point is no one has really set in stone yet how to regulate AI. So we've been engaging with many international regulatory bodies, so not just the FDA, but also the MHRA, the EMA, around just how to regulate AI. So that's been really cool to see. And we're also, you know, we're thinking very deeply about access and trying to learn from others who have been really focused on the regenerative medicine space. So Japan is a really interesting example of a company that has specific regulatory frameworks dedicated to regenerative medicine in particular.
Fantastic. And so how has your JPM been going so far? What types of conversations have you been having?
It's been awesome. So, you know, we've been having a lot of conversations with people who are really excited about regenerative health. It's this new era of medicine that I think is really going to change how we approach human health. And so some of the conversations that we've been having with people are just thinking into the future, what cell types are people very interested in? You know, I talked about there are clinical trials ongoing for Parkinson's where folks are transplanting dopaminergic neurons. In the case of heart failure, it's cardiovascular cells. In the case of spinal cord injury, it's spinal cord tissue, neural tissue. We're very excited about hair regeneration, so replacement hair follicles. We're excited about skin regeneration. We're super excited about eggs, so oocytes. You can imagine that it can totally change how we approach IVF and fertility and maintaining fertility into older age. And so we've been having a lot of conversations with folks about, like, okay, if you could have your own cells and tissues replaced on demand, made from your own body, so your body doesn't reject them, what cell types would you be most interested in? People keep talking about cartilage. A lot of folks our age are thinking really deeply about their knees. Yeah.
The hills of San Francisco have absolutely shattered my knees, so I would definitely be first in line for that. And so what does this look like in terms of timeline and milestones that we should be looking out for?
Look, some of these cell types are going to be years away. You know, replacing oocytes, hair, skin, these are like relatively complex. But I do think the first therapies are going to hit the market within the next maybe 5 years in the case of Parkinson's. There's a lot of activity in Parkinson's, and it's moving very quickly. And we are already seeing very impressive clinical outcomes. So what has to happen right now is the infrastructure, the foundations, so the manufacturing technologies, the regulatory frameworks need to be set up in parallel so that this science can continue to move at an accelerated pace.
And finally, what has your main message been to investors this week?
That regenerative health is here. It's not something that's coming, it's already here. We're already seeing incredible success in the clinic, and it's going to be a fundamentally different way in terms of how we approach human health. And we're really thinking about this as like the new era of health.
Exciting future. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.